We have a bunch of brands of long-nose locking pliers to test, including a set that's 40 years old that's made in USA. So let's get the testing underway and see which brand is the best. In the first test, we'll compare the gripping strength of the locking pliers. Then we'll see how well they maintain a grip on high carbon steel. We'll also test the wire cutters. Finally, we'll test the failure load of each of the pliers. At a price of only $8, the least expensive brand we'll be testing is made by Hanson. All the pliers we'll be testing are 9 inches in length. Constructed of high-grade heat-treated alloy steel. They claim their locking pliers offer maximum strength and gripping capability. We're going to test that. The Hanson brand is made in Taiwan. The Hansons weigh 370 grams. I typically adjust the tension bolt before clamping the pliers onto a workpiece. However, that approach won't result in a fair test between the brands since I won't be able to set the tension on each of the pliers equally. So I'll first clamp the nose of the pliers onto the threaded portion of a 1/4-inch bolt, and then I'll use a rounded nut extractor to fasten onto the adjustment screw. I'll then tighten the adjustment screw to 60 inch-pounds. Then I'll use an electronic torque adapter to measure the amount of force it takes until the pliers lose grip on the bolt. I'll use a new bolt between testing each of the brands. So at 60 inch-pounds on the adjustment bolt, the Hanson lost grip at 69 inch-pounds, which is actually pretty good. At a price of $10 or just $2 more than the Hanson is this SATA. Induction hardened angled teeth give tradesmen increased gripping power on any surface. Includes integrated wire cutters. Chrome moly steel body has strength and durability. Nickel-plated finish provides protection against rust and corrosion. The SATA brand is made in China. The SATAs weigh 363 grams. And the SATA only made it to 46 inch-pounds before giving up. So the Hanson holds on to the lead at 69 inch-pounds. At a price of $12 is this Performance Tool brand. Drop forged in hardened chrome vanadium steel. Precision machine jaws with integrated wire cutter. Triple riveted and welded center point for added strength. The Performance Tool pliers are made in China. The Performance Tool pliers are the lightest yet at 355 grams. The Performance Tool really struggled to hang on and let go at only 40 inch-pounds to move into the third position. This Tekton brand costs $15, which is nearly twice as much as the Hanson pliers. Includes a pull-type lever release for one-handed operation. The adjustment screw includes a hole for added leverage. Strong chrome moly jaws with sharp teeth provide a sure bite. The Tekton brand is made in Taiwan. The Tekton pliers weigh 376 grams. And the Tekton brand performed nearly as well as the Hanson locking pliers at 63 inch-pounds to move into second place. The Tolsen brand comes at a price of $15, the same price as the Tekton. Drop forged carbon steel. Rigid grabber teeth. Adjustable bolt with spring. There's no information on the Tolsen pliers regarding where they're manufactured. The Tolsen pliers are pretty light at only 354 grams. And the Tolsen locking pliers really struggled at only 28 inch-pounds to move into last place behind Performance Tool. At a price of $15, the Irwin brand is the same price as the Tekton and the Tolsen brands. High-grade heat-treated alloy construction. Contains wire cutter for added convenience. Features hardened teeth that grip from any angle. The Irwin pliers are made in China. The Vise Grips weigh 368 grams. And the Irwin pliers perform slightly better than the Tekton brand to take over second position at 65 inch-pounds. Fortunately, I was able to find some vintage USA-made Vise Grips which cost me $95. I'm not exactly sure when the Vise Grips were manufactured, but it does include an insert which has a copyright date from 1980 to 1982. Includes some U.S. patent information on the handle. It claims these locking pliers are a product of years of research. It claims to have long and thin jaws to access hard-to-reach areas. Locks onto the work with a terrific grip. Includes an integrated wire cutter. The U.S.-made Vise Grips weigh 356 grams. And the vintage Vise Grips move into the lead with a very impressive 75 inch-pounds or 6 inch-pounds more than the Hanson. At a price of $17 is this Eastwood brand. Made of chrome moly steel. Heat-treated body for added strength and durability. The Eastwood pliers are made in Taiwan. The Eastwood pliers weigh 373 grams. And the Eastwood locking pliers perform nearly as well as the vintage Vise Grips at 70 inch-pounds to take the second position from the Hanson. At a price of $22 is this Crescent brand. Includes a built-in wire cutter. Angled teeth for maximum grip. Includes a hex key for maximum jaw tightening. Nickel-plated finish resists corrosion. Non-slip cushion grip release lever. The Crescent brand is made in China. The Crescent pliers weigh 371 grams. And the Crescent pliers perform better than average at 61 inch-pounds. At a price of $23 is this Milwaukee Torque Lock. It claims to provide faster setup and easy release when clamping round material. Hardened jaws provide better grip force on job site materials. Traditional release lever designed for job site convenience. The Milwaukee brand is made in China. The Milwaukee pliers are the heaviest yet at 377 grams. And the Milwaukee pliers struggled to gain a good grip and gave up at only 54 inch-pounds. At a price of $27 is this Grip-On brand. They claim their epoxy coating provides 10 times the protection against corrosion. The Grip-On pliers do not include a wire cutter. The Grip-On pliers are made in Spain. And the Grip-Ons are the heaviest yet at 395 grams. The Grip-On pliers performed about the same as the Milwaukee at 52 inch-pounds. At a price of $34, the most expensive brand we'll be testing is made by Snap-On. Locking nut set secures jaw opening for repeat jobs. Spring-loaded release lever allows for quick, no-pinch release. Larger jaw capacity for larger objects. Jaws feature greater surface area and broader teeth for more secure gripping. The snap-ons do not include a wire cutter. The snap-on is made in Italy, and the snap-ons are by far the heaviest at 419 grams. And the snap-on locking pliers gave up very close to the same as the grip-on pliers at 48 inch-pounds. So the vintage Vise Grips came out on top at 75 inch-pounds. The Eastwood pliers performed nearly as well at 70 inch-pounds, C.H. Hanson 69, Irwin 65, and Tekton 63 inch-pounds. I measured the nose of all the locking pliers, both the width as well as the height of both jaws together. If you're working in a tight space, the thickness and the width of the jaws can be a big factor. And the vintage Vise Grips offer the narrowest grip at 4.56 millimeters. However, the performance tool pliers were just about as narrow at 4.65 millimeters, SATA 4.69, Milwaukee 4.75, and C.H. Hanson 5.29 millimeters. The height of the jaws from top to bottom is also a factor in tight spaces, and the vintage Vise Grips are only 6.33 millimeters. The snap-on 7.23, grip-on 7.32, C.H. Hanson 8.11, and Eastwood 8.34 millimeters. Side-to-side jaw movement or wobble is an indicator of quality or the lack thereof, and the vintage Vise Grips have the least amount of slop at 1.04 millimeters. The Irwins are nearly as good at 1.19, Eastwood 1.24, C.H. Hanson 1.42, and Snap-on 1.45 millimeters. Let's test the locking pliers again, this time clamping a 7/16 bolt into the main jaws of the pliers. Let's also increase the torque on the adjustment screw to 80 inch-pounds, beginning with the C.H. Hanson. And the C.H. Hanson is holding on too tightly for this torque adapter, so let's move on to a bigger one. And the C.H. Hanson is off to a really good start at 352 inch-pounds. Very impressive. And the Hanson has really sharp, well-designed teeth that really dug into the bolt. And the teeth on the C.H. Hanson are still in really good condition with just a small amount of wear. And the SATA let go at only 170 inch-pounds, or less than half as much as the C.H. Hanson. The teeth on the SATA just aren't very sharp or aggressive, but they did hold up fairly well. And the performance tool performed about the same as the SATA at 161 inch-pounds to move into the third position. Just like the SATA, performance tool just doesn't have very sharp or aggressive teeth, and they weren't able to dig into the bolt. However, the teeth did hold up fairly well. And the Tekton performed quite a bit better than the SATA and the performance tool pliers to move into second position at 284 inch-pounds. So the very affordable C.H. Hanson pliers are still in the lead. There's a small amount of wear and tear to the teeth, but they're still in great shape. Just like the first round of competition, the Tolsen brand really struggled, letting go at only 78 inch-pounds. The teeth barely left marks on the bolt. Unfortunately, the teeth are pretty rounded and just not designed to gain a good grip. And the Irwin performed nearly as well as the C.H. Hanson at 336 inch-pounds, which is enough to move into the second position. And the Irwin just shredded the bolt. The teeth on the Irwin are a lot sharper than most of the other brands and held up fairly well with minor wear and tear. And the vintage Vise Grips totally crushed the competition at 450 inch-pounds. Very impressive. The vintage Vise Grips also did a great job of sinking their teeth into the bolt. The jaws are slightly narrower and the teeth are very sharp with a gritty texture, which allowed it to really gain a good grip. And Eastwood pliers performed extremely well at 342 inch-pounds, which is good enough to move into the third position. The pliers did pretty significant damage to the bolt, and the teeth on the Eastwood pliers held up well. And the Crescent lost grip at 312 inch-pounds, which is better than average. The teeth did experience minor wear and tear. And the Milwaukee performed about average at 255 inch-pounds before losing grip. The teeth on the Milwaukee did damage to a very narrow area on the bolt. Unfortunately, the teeth on the Milwaukee are pretty soft and experience quite a bit of damage. And the grip-on has very wide jaws, and spreading the pressure over a wide area of the bolt prevented it from really digging into the bolt at only 214 inch-pounds. The teeth experienced more damage than average. Just like the grip-on, the Snap-on has very wide jaws, which spread the pressure over a wider surface area than most of the other brands. 206 inch-pounds, and the teeth held up fairly well. So the vintage Vise Grips came out on top at 450 inch-pounds. The very affordable C.H. Hanson finished in second place at 352, Eastwood 342, Irwin 336, and Crescent 312 inch-pounds. Most of the locking pliers have cutters, so let's see which brand performs the best cutting through an 8-penny nail. Once the pliers are clamped onto the holder, I'll slide the front piece with the 2 bolts towards the pliers. The 2 bolts will hold the nail in place against the cutters to allow for maximum leverage. The hydraulic press will be applying force at the very end of the handle. I'll go ahead and attach some locking pliers to the end of the nail to keep it from becoming a projectile. And the C.H. Hanson has done a terrific job during the first 2 tests, but it needed 194 pounds of force to cut through the 8-penny nail. It looks like it pretty much smashed its way through the nail. The cutting knife on the C.H. Hanson was flattened a little during the test, but is still in pretty good shape. The SATA made it all the way to 250 pounds before giving up. Unfortunately, the nail was just too much and the SATA left a pretty good sized dent in the nail. The cutter is pretty soft on the SATA and it experienced quite a bit of damage. And the performance tool reached a peak torque of 171 pounds before giving up. It came very close to cutting through the nail. The cutter does have a small amount of wear and tear. Skipping the Tekton since it doesn't have a wire cutter. And the Tolsen threw in the towel at 182 pounds without cutting through the nail. And the cutting knife on the Tolsen looks like it's designed to smash instead of cut. And the Vise Grips made a clean cut through the nail at 128 pounds to move into the lead. And the cutting knife is still in really good shape. And the vintage Vise Grips made the cut at 193 pounds, which is quite a bit more force compared to the modern Vise Grips. The cutting knife on the vintage Vise Grip held up just fine, but there is some damage below the lower cutting knife. And the Eastwood made it to 193 pounds and couldn't quite cut through the nail. It did a great job of smashing the nail, and the cutting knife is still in great shape. And the Crescent brand gave up a little bit early at 125 pounds before it could completely cut through the nail. However, it did come pretty close to making the cut, and the cutting knife is still in good condition. And the Milwaukee reached a peak load of 201 pounds and just about smashed its way through the nail. The cutting knife looks pretty lopsided as if one side wasn't properly shaped. The cutting knife did experience a small amount of wear and tear. The Tekton grip-on and the snap-on don't have a wire cutter, so only 3 brands were able to cut through an 8-penny nail, with the Irwin coming out on top. The vintage Vise Grips made the cut at 193 pounds and the CH Hanson 194. The 3/8" extension, which is made of tool steel, is going to be really challenging for the locking pliers. So let's tighten the adjustment screw to 80 pounds and we'll see how they perform. And the CH Hanson continues to perform very well at 105 pounds. Let's use an impact wrench for a couple of seconds to see if the pliers are able to slow or hold back the socket extension, and then we'll see how the teeth held up. I'll add a marker line so we can better see the spinning velocity of the socket extension. And the CH Hanson definitely slowed the Milwaukee down just a little. And the CH Hanson left some pretty obvious teeth marks on the extension. The teeth have a small amount of wear and tear, but they're still in pretty good shape. The SATA gave up a little bit sooner than the CH Hanson at 83 pounds. And the SATA really struggled to slow the impact wrench, and it left minor scratches on the socket extension. And there's quite a bit of wear and tear to the teeth on the SATA. And the performance tool really struggled at only 47 pounds. And the performance tool barely slowed the speed of the impact wrench. And the locking pliers barely left a scratch on the socket extension, and there's quite a bit of wear and tear to the teeth. And the Tekton moves into second place at 84 pounds. The Tekton held back the impact wrench much better than the performance tool. And the Tekton left some pretty deep scratches in the socket extension. And the Tekton's teeth experienced some minor wear and tear. Once again, the Tolsen really struggled and lost grip at only 48 pounds. And the Tolsen just wasn't able to do much to slow the impact wrench, and it did experience about the same amount of wear and tear as the Tekton. I'm using the new socket extension for the Irwin, and the Irwin continues to perform above average at 92 pounds to move into second place. Even though the Irwin's teeth experienced a higher torque load than average, they held up very well. I need a larger torque adapter for the vintage Vise Grips. And the vintage Vise Grips finally lost grip at 254 pounds. Very impressive. And the teeth on the vintage Vise Grips appear to be a lot harder than the competition, and the teeth look nearly as good as new. And the Eastwood moves into a 2-way tie for second place with the CH Hanson at 105 pounds. And the teeth held up just as well as the other brands. And the Crescent brand threw in the towel a lot sooner than most of the other brands at 65 pounds. Considering only 65 pounds, the teeth experienced quite a bit of damage. And the Milwaukee just couldn't keep up with many of the less expensive brands at 80 pounds. Unfortunately, the teeth on the Milwaukee are pretty soft and they experienced quite a bit of damage. And the grip-on continued to struggle at only 69 pounds. And the teeth on the grip-on did experience quite a bit of wear and tear. And the snap-on barely edges out the grip-on at 72 pounds. And the teeth on the snap-on seem to have held up a little bit better than the grip-on. So the vintage Vise Grips performed by far the best at 254 pounds. CH Hanson and Eastwood tied for second at 105, Irwin 92, and Tekton 84 pounds. Let's test the limits of the locking pliers next by tightening the adjustment bolt until they fail. And the pliers finally had enough at 222 pounds. And the weld held up just fine, but the threads are stripped. And the SATA couldn't quite keep up with the CH Hanson throughout the showdown, but it barely beat it in this test at 225 pounds. And the weld became the failure point on the SATA pliers. And Performance Tool has struggled to keep up with the less expensive pliers up to this point, and it gave up early this time as well at 194 pounds. The threads on the adjustment screw are badly damaged. And the Tekton refused to give up, but it finally let go at 307 pounds to move into the lead. And the adjustment screw moved out of position and became lodged next to the connecting rod. And the Tolsen pliers once again really struggled, giving up at only 86 pounds. And the threads on the adjustment screw are stripped. And the Irwin Vise Grips performed much better than average at 238 inch-pounds, but that's not enough to take the lead from the Tekton. And a rivet on the pliers broke. And the vintage pliers refused to break. At 370 inch-pounds, the adjustment screws seemed to be in the proper position, but suddenly got stuck at 452 inch-pounds. The end of the adjustment screw did experience some damage as it went out of position against the connecting rod. And Eastwood was doing a great job until the adjustment bolt moved out of position at 307 inch-pounds. So the Eastwood moves into a two-way tie for second place with Tekton. And the Crescent pliers performed a little bit better than average, finally giving up at 226 inch-pounds. The adjustment bolt moved out of position. And the Milwaukee pliers performed better than average, finally breaking at 250 inch-pounds. And the weld on the handle is the failure point. And the adjustment bolt on the grip-on seems to be undersized compared to the other brands. Unfortunately, the bolt broke at 187 inch-pounds. The lock release is in the way on the rounded nut tool, and I had to reposition the tool a couple of times during the test. Just like the grip-on, the snap-on bolt broke in the same place at 187 inch-pounds. So the vintage Vise Grips once again did the best at 452 inch-pounds. The Tekton and Eastwood tied for second at 307 inch-pounds, Milwaukee 250, and Irwin Vise Grips 238. I'm really impressed with those vintage Vise Grips. I just wish they were more available because they're very hard to find. But if I did have to buy a new pair of Vise Grips right now, I'm definitely going to buy the CH Hansons because they easily outperform some of the more expensive brands, and for under $10, they're a great value. I also like the Irwin Vise Grips. They too perform very well for around $15. And finally, the Eastwoods performed extremely well. All the videos in this channel, including this one, are viewer suggested. So if you have a video idea, I hope you'll take time to leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching. Please take care, and I look forward to next time.